Calon Yarns podcast. My name is Lynn and I'm coming to you as always from Cardiff in Wales in the UK, and this is a knitting, spinning, sometimes crochet, sometimes dyeing, but always fibre-based fortnightly podcast. If you are a new viewer, hello, welcome, thank you so much for joining us, and if you are a returning viewer, a regular viewer, thank you so much for coming back. I really do appreciate you dropping by every fortnight just to check in with what I'm doing, and I really do appreciate your comments down below as well. So feel free to like, to subscribe, to drop me a comment, and I'm really excited to say that we hit the 1,000 subscribers mark this last fortnight. So thank you so much for everybody that has subscribed. It's really lovely, and you know, the videos that you do, you kind of sharing your stuff, sharing what you're up to, and it's quite nice to have a diary of what you're up to, but it's always really lovely when other people are interested in what I'm doing, because I know that I am very interested in what lots of other podcasters and lots of other people are doing. So please do share what you're up to. It's always good to know where everybody is in their projects, wherever you are in the world. So you can find me as Calon Yarns on Facebook, on Instagram, all those sort of social media places. We do have a Ravelry group, but it is quite quiet over there. I tend to kind of communicate more on Instagram, so if you want to drop me a line, then do it on Instagram or here on YouTube. But enough of that sort of parish notices. How are you? Well, I hope. We in the UK and us in Wales, we are still in lockdown. And we had an announcement yesterday from our First Minister that we would be in lockdown for another 3 weeks before they kind of think about what to do next. So yes, the right decision, I think, but still very exhausting. But we're all in the same boat. Well, no, we're not all in the same boat, are we? We're all in the same boat in the UK, but elsewhere I know there are differences. So I hope wherever you are, you have a bit more freedom, you're able to get out and about and meet up with knitting friends. Are there any other type of friends? I don't know, but there we go. Yes, so what have I got in store for you today? I have 2 finished objects. I know, like buses, you wait for ages and then 2 come along at once. I have some works in progress. Goodness me, already. And I also have a new cast on and some spinning bits and bobs to share with you as well. So yeah, let's get cracking really. So my first finished object is a true ta-da moment, because it is my candles and coffee socks. Finally off the needles. Yeah, I know, thank you. Thank you indeed. Settle down people. Yes, finally off the socks. And these beautiful socks created from the wonderful pattern that is from Julia from the Happy Knitting podcast, and I will pop her details down below. I think that this speckled one, the speckled skein, is from some of my hand dyed. I can't even remember. I think it was just like an experimental phase. And then the heels and toes are a West Yorkshire Spinners in a bubblegum pink. Sorry, just check my phone is off. Yes, it is. Yeah, so it is a really lovely pattern. As you can see, a gorgeous little lace sort of motif up the front. That is an easily remembered pattern. You can really kind of, you know, you can easily remember it, but it does take you looking at your work, which is why it took me so long to complete those. But yes, do pop along there, and I know that she has another pattern out now called Smoky Cables, I think it's called, which is also very beautiful. So yes, I might have to do a vanilla sock and then get back into pattern socks. But if you like a bit of a pattern sock, then do have a look at that with her. So happy to have those off the needles. And these will then go in my box of socks. So these are my January ones. I know they're a little bit late, but I did finish them about 2 weeks ago, I think, maybe nearly. So they sort of nearly were my January socks. So I'm hoping to do a pair of socks a month, put them in a little box, and have a box of socks at the end of the year, which can be a Christmas present to me, because it's always nice to have a refresh of the sock drawer. So yeah, very pleased with those. And they have this nice little it's sort of what's the word, it's not a regular rib, irregular rib, what is it called? I'd like a split rib maybe, is it? Detail along the back, which I haven't done before. I'm not going to give it away obviously because it's in the pattern, but that's a really, really nice effect. And I wonder whether actually I might do a pair of socks just with that all the way over. So that's that. Hooray, hooray. There we go. But not one finished object, but two finished objects. This is my other finished object. It is the Exploration Station by Stephen West, and it is warm. Fair play. My goodness, when I had it on for about 5 minutes. And I could not be happier with this. Out of my wheelhouse for colours, etc. These autumnal colours. Don't do a lot in these colours, but will I be doing some in the future? Yes, I will. Because this is gorgeous, I think, in terms of the oranges and the greens together. It works really well, I think. All out of stash. Polish the halo. Yeah, we're back to that. This orange was out of a ball of yarn that I found in my mum's stash. No idea what she bought it for, but that is really nice. My mum's passed away a few years ago, so it's really nice to have something that's from her stash that I can kind of cozy up to. And then this red is some of my, well, one of my first hand spuns, actually, hand spins. So it's nice to kind of get that in a project as well. And then the brown, no idea where that's come from. And the green, maybe a West Yorkshire Spinners as well, possibly. But yes, so glad to have used up some stuff in this beautiful shawl. I will put it back on, but I might have to take it back off again after, because yeah, as I say, ooh, it's warm. Yes, so that is done and dusted, and I hopefully will go out for a bit of a walk later, even though it's pretty gloomy here today, so I can sport it. Oh, actually, it's not too cold out, just a bit mizzly, so I could wear my green sweater that anyway, you don't need to know that. That's my inner monologue. Keep it in, Seymour, keep it in. Yes, so that's that. So two finished objects. I nearly had a third finished object, and I was going to push through and do it, but it was not to be. Things in work, which I'll talk about later, are very exciting in terms of the students, but it just meant that they took up quite a bit of time, so I didn't get enough time to finish the second sleeve, because as we know, as we discussed last time, and I'm sure you're all aware, but when you finish your first sleeve, you get a stamp of approval to cast on a new project. Yeah, has nobody told you? Yeah, it's true. So that's I've had my authorization stamp because I finished my first sleeve, but I'm not too far off the second sleeve, as in we've just started the decreases. And I didn't do as many decreases as it said in the pattern. It's a strange brew pattern, the Tin Can Knits, because I tried it on my husband. This is for my husband. That would be foolish to try on a jumper on my husband if it wasn't for him. That would make no sense. This is for my husband. And the sleeves we got to a point where they were like, yeah, that's enough decreasing now. He likes them quite baggy. So I've taken out a couple of sleeve decreases. Better for me, I can just kind of get down to the end of the sleeve a lot quicker. But it is working up very, very beautifully, I think. This is hand dyed by me. This is undyed, as I've said time and time again, I'm sure, and I'll do a little proper roundup at the end. But this is Blueface Leicester, undyed and then dyed in this blue with the kind of bits and bobs. No, they're not speckles, but these areas of darker navy in there. So yes, hopefully that will be finished by next podcast, because yes, and maybe I can cast on something else then. It's been an exhausting week really, because as I'm sure you have knitting friends that you chat projects through with, and I've had a couple of meetups with my lovely spinning knitting friends over the last couple of weeks, and it is so lovely to kind of chat fibre in that geeky way that we do. But then what happens is that you come away after those sessions, and I couldn't sleep this week, because it was just all these beautiful patterns were going over in my head, all these ideas that they were talking about, the yarns they were talking about, the jumpers that they'd finished or were nearly finishing, and you start to go, oh my goodness. And then I got up in the morning and my husband said, you didn't sleep very well last night? I went, oh no. He's like, oh, don't worry, the kitchen will be done soon. It's like, yeah, I wasn't thinking about the kitchen. I was thinking, do I cast on this shawl or do I get this jumper out? Or yeah, isn't that like ridiculous that was what was keeping me awake through the night after meeting up. So, you know, we have to limit those meetups, I think, because otherwise I need to get my beauty sleep. Goodness me. So yes, I did allow myself to cast on because I was on that one sleeve complete, and I have cast on, it's called the Arboretum shawl. I have to think about how that word is spelt before I say it. Arboretum shawl, no, Arboretum Cowl by Campfire Knits, and it is a free pattern on Ravelry. I'll pop a little photograph in here, and this is how it is knitting up. So what I wanted was, that's not a bad reflection of the colour, no, maybe a bit too light. This is the blue that I did my Ironworks tee in, which is hand spun, this light blue, and then this darker blue is John Arbon Textiles Yarnadelic, Badi Bar I think it's called. Yes, so I wanted, I love big scarves, but like you, I'm sure, lately we have been out walking as often as we can, as in, you know, our daily exercise that we're allowed out to do. So if we can get out, we are going out for a walk. And these are lovely when it's really cold and the wind is quite biting. These big shawls are wonderful, but as we're getting into spring, they're a little bit too big for if you're going on a good old hike, I think, because I'm constantly taking them off and putting them on, and it's probably my time of life as well. But yeah, so these are great, but can be a little bit too big sometimes when you are striding out. So I thought if I do myself a couple of cowls, then at least I can kind of pop them in my rucksack or in my bag. They're not quite as heavy, so it might do the job of keeping my neck warm, but not be overly warm once we pick up a head of steam. So this is why, heading into cowl territory. Never knitted a cowl before, have toyed with the idea for a while, but haven't really done one before. So yes, so I found this pattern, and it was for a DK weight. And this is, as I say, this is the Yarnadelic Badi Bar. So it's got these lovely browns and blues in there. It's a little bit darker than it's coming up on the camera. So when I did the whole wraps per inch and checked it out for what sort of thickness this yarn was, it was sort of coming out as a DK. But then when I knitted it up, when I started the project, I realised that sometimes it was DK, sometimes it was 4-ply, sometimes it was edging towards a worsted weight. So yes, it wasn't really working out on the 4mm needles that the pattern suggests. So, and then with this one, like I say, this is my hand spun from my Ironworks tee, which is a Fibre Huts fibre, which I think is silk, alpaca and merino. And this is really fine. This, I think this is one of my first spins. And this is like ridiculously fine. So there are 2 strands there. I'm doing 2 strands together. So it wasn't quite matching up. So what I've done is I've gone down a needle size to a 3.5. A 3.25 for the rib I decided to do, and then a 3.5 for the main body, so that the fabric is a little stiffer, less wind can get through, and it might hold up a little bit stiffer. I didn't want it to be slouchy. So I'm really pleased with the fabric. It is knitting up very cosily, it is showing the pattern really nicely, there's a good contrast in the shades. So yeah. Now, does that class as knitting from stash if it's your hand spun? Don't know, possibly, probably. Yeah, let's say it does. Yeah, so I can polish my halo again. There we go. Yes, so what was I going to say about that? I was going to say, nope, can't remember. 3.25, 3.5mm needles. Had to change the pattern slightly. Yes, that was the other thing. So then I added, I think it's a cast on of around 144 stitches, but I added another section of the pattern, which was another 12 stitches, just so it was a little bit big enough to absorb that decrease in needle size, so that the size wasn't too small and it would like be really choking me around the neck. So yeah, that one is ticking away nicely. And then this one is off the needles, you see. So this is a blank space now, isn't it? Because that's sort of, is that the cast on replacing this, or does that cast on replace that. Either way, I need another cast on. Now I've got a few things queued up. I was thinking what I need really, and I'm quite good because I have all my projects sort of packed together, as in those balls of yarn are for that sweater pattern, those balls of yarn are for that project, those balls of yarn. Sometimes I might change my idea once I kind of go rifling through stuff. Do you do that as well, that you kind of go back and think, I know I was going to do that, but now I've seen this pattern? And anyway, so sweaters or project quantities, and we sort of need like a little vending machine, you know, like the vending machine that you put your money in, you get your chocolates or your crisps out when you come out of the swimming pool or whatever. I could do with one of those in my home, and then I could put the packs of projects in it, put in my little bit of money, get my project down to do, and then the money that goes in the machine sort of saves up for the next. You see, that's what we need, is yarn project vending machines. This is how my brain works, I'm afraid. In fact, like in France, if you go back a year or so ago, I showed you that in France they have vending machines outside the bakers for bread. My camera turned off then when I was talking about baguettes, but there we go. So yes, in France they have vending machines outside the bakers that you can put your euro in, and it vends a baguette if you don't manage to get to the bakers whilst it's open. So I think outside yarn shops should be the same thing. Just a random collection of maybe some pattern sock yarns, a little bit of merino, a little bit of you know, a bit of Norwegian wool or whatever, just to keep you ticking over, you know, if you happen to run out. I think it's really important. In fact, looking through my stash, I could probably buy a vending machine and pop it outside my house and do you all a favour. So anyway, sorry, that was a massive digress. I shall take a slurp. Sparkly water, not gin and tonic, I'm afraid. So yes, I am missing a cast on. I think I know what that's going to be, but I will share that with you next week. I'll get that sweater off the needles, and then I really will have a gap for my next project. La la. So that's sort of all the knitting stuff. Oh no, actually there's one more thing that's a perspective, because obviously I've got a pair of socks off the needles. Oh, that's true. So this is some of my first hand spun. So these, there's a slight inconsistency there, with the white was the very, very first thing I spun, the grey was the second thing I spun, so I plied them together. Look at that, Chunksville, love it. Yes, my earmuffs. So I think I'm going to knit some slippers, socks, chunky socks in this, because I'm not quite sure. I don't think there'll be enough. I was going to do a cowl for my husband, but I don't think there'll be enough in there for that. Or maybe they will. I should do that, something nice for him really, shouldn't I? Although he is getting a jumper, whatever. I'll see. I'll knit up a little swatch and see how it goes, and that will either turn into a cowl, which will be quite a speedy knit, or a pair of chunky socks. We shall see, we shall see. So that's something that is also in the planning phase. And I forgot to tell you about my desk socks, which sit here when I am working, and I have finished one of them. I love these. Yes, so look at that, super duper long, finish the toe, it'll be an afterthought heel, but long, long, long socks. And this is an opal yarn, so it is quite hard wearing, quite firm. I don't know if you haven't knitted with opal before, they are really, really sturdy, but not the softest of sock yarns. So I was telling you about these last week before, whatever, and if you look here on the ball band, you can see it says, I thought it said, these are party socks, yet the shade is party. Apparently not. So a couple of you, Elena, is that how you say your name, and my friend Julia, pointed out that that in German means die-lot. Brilliant. I just saw the word party and thought, yeah, there's a party on my needles in those colours, but no, it doesn't mean, that's not the colour shade at all. It means die-lot. So if I'd looked at the other balls of yarns that I had from Opal a little bit more clearly, I would have also noticed that they were all called party. I didn't do that. I just picked out the brightest. So they will be forever my party socks now. So yes, so thank you for that nugget of information. It did make me laugh. a lot. So yes, thank you very much. You see, I'm also learning languages. I can dialect in German is a really helpful word to have in the vocab. Yes, so that really is all the knitting stuff now. So over to the spinning. So I've showed you a little bit of spinning in terms of what I did previously and what I'm hoping to kind of create. This project is obviously hand spun, but I have a sweater quantity of Black Gold of the Sun, which is, this was on bobbins I think last week. So I have skeined this up. I've got another 200 grams, maybe 300 grams to spin up. However, what I've discovered is that the consistency changes quite a bit. So when I do knit it up into a sweater, I think I'm going to have to use the helical knitting method, even though the shade is pretty good, you know, because it's a little bit flecky and a little bit variegated anyway, it wouldn't really matter too much. But it's the consistency of the yarn that is slightly off, I think. So this one, I can't remember which way around it is now. I think this one is probably more towards a sport weight, and this one is a little bit more DK. So yes, I need to be careful as I'm spinning up the other ones. I think I naturally spin thinner, so I have to make myself spin a little bit thicker, because that's I want a sort of a DK, maybe a DK weight sort of yarn. So yeah, so there's a slight discrepancy there, so I need to keep an eye on that. But I think I haven't washed these yet, but I think I will have to keep an eye on that in terms of the old helical knitting method, just to balance out that texture. I'm sure that once it's knitted up into something, you won't really notice. I'm not overly bothered anyway, but it's quite interesting how when you get into a rhythm, you sort of default back to a certain spinning thickness. So I need to keep an eye on that as I'm spinning through my other stuff. So I will be getting on with some of that, hopefully over this weekend. And then spinning wise, I don't know if you have seen the what is her name, Fibre Tales podcast, and she has created a pattern that's called the Sneffeld shawl. I think that means snowfall in Danish. Look at me, I'm like multilingual. I think it's called Sneffeld. That's how it's not how you say it, but that's how it's spelt in English. Which works through like a gradient, so I'm interested in looking at some natural fibres. So I think from my stash of fibres, I've got some nice black Jacob, then I've got some grey, Norwegian grey, okay, was that, yeah, which is a really nice smoky grey, and then some white, excuse the rustling, some white Jacob. So it calls for 3 shades, and then it has like these little sort of bobbles in it, these almost like stems with a bobble on the top that are quite a much brighter colour. So I think I'm going to blend up some of the green merinos that I have in my stash, maybe with a little bit of merino, or I've got a little bit of silk there as well. So that's my sort of plan. Obviously that will take weeks and weeks and weeks to actually sort out, but I just wanted to share my musings with you, because if I tell you, then it means like I probably have to do it. So yeah, the Jacob feels really soft in the top, but I'm just worried that it might be a little bit too coarse when it spins up, because I'm not the best of spinners, so sometimes I over twist, and therefore that can make the fibres quite coarse. It's funny, isn't it? When I felt this the other day, it felt a lot softer. Don't know what's going on. But yeah, I'm gonna have a go anyway. I'll do a little sample spin and see how that feels, because obviously for a shawl it needs to be nice around your neck, although we're heading into spring and summer now. So by the time I've spun it, knitted it, done it, it'll probably be next winter. Yeah, so that's the plans for the old spinning, and I think that's sort of about it for the fibreness. Excuse I. So if you are leaving us there after all the fibre stuff, I'm just thinking, yeah, no, that is it. Then thank you so much for joining me. I'll put a little link here if you want some more fibre-y things. But yeah, on to general chat really of what I've been up to. Fibre up my nose. Work has been really interesting at the moment. For those of you that don't know, I I'm a lecturer and the programme manager for an acting degree course in the university here in Wales. So obviously being in lockdown has been really, really difficult for our courses because they're practical courses. So the acting course, and we also have a theatre design and production course that runs alongside us. So it's been really, really hard for our students. So they do their third years do 3 public performances each year. So this public performance, which is normally their main house project, their big company, large cast project, we just haven't been able to do because we've not been on campus. So they have been creating a digital world, a digital landscape. They've been exploring stories from M.R. James, Edgar Allan Poe, and some female Victorian ghost writers to create a story, and they are presenting it digitally. So we are currently in the kind of the tech phase, the technical phase, which if we were in the theatre, it's about getting the cues right, getting the lighting cues right, getting the sound cues right, getting them on the stage, working out how we're going to use the set, etc. But of course, because they're all still at home, so we've created this digital world where some of the students have been sent green screens, so they're creating, they're working in front of a green screen backdrop, and then we have a tech coordinator that is creating these worlds that they are in. We have students that have kind of built these sets in their bedrooms to replicate a TV studio or a boardroom, or so all these stories are sort of weaved together within this 3D digital landscape. It's been so fascinating to be part of that process and to understand that process. So this week they have been putting everything back together and getting the tech all sorted. So I felt like some sort of criminal mastermind this week at my desk, because I've had my work laptop with one streaming version on it, and then my personal laptop with another streaming version of it to kind of get the sound right, and then on my phone I've had the sound stream so that we can get it all coordinated together. Yeah, it's been exhausting, incredibly a steep learning curve, but yes, so they open the show next week and they are performing it live. So a lot of digital shows are recorded, pre-recorded, but the aspiration, the plan is to stream it live within these digital worlds. So yes, that's what has been keeping me busy these last couple of weeks, and they've got their dress rehearsal this afternoon, so I'll be tuning into that to see how that goes. Yeah, technical issues are always an issue, but it's been incredible because we've got students all over the world. So we've been shipping out green screens to the Bahamas and to Gibraltar, and sending these special lights over to Norway and Denmark, and the actors that we've got, an actor in the Bahamas and an actor in Denmark, and when they come together it looks like they're in the same studio. So it's fantastic. They've done a really, really brilliant job. So yeah, so that's kind of been keeping me busy these last couple of weeks. And then what else? Yes, kitchen update. For those of you that have been with us for a while, we haven't had a kitchen since September. The floor is down. The floor is down. Yes, the tiles are down. They are grouted. The windows are in. Lots happened these last couple of weeks. We've had a delivery of dishwasher and washing machine that we can't put anywhere yet, so we have to clamber over that as we walk through the hall. But I think we're turning a corner. I think we're definitely turning a corner now, and we've got this big Welsh dresser. Well, it's not really a Welsh dresser, it's an old cupboard from a school, actually, a Victorian oak cupboard with cupboards at the bottom and then shelves at the top, but it's a huge beast of a piece of furniture. So yes, they've got the base of that back in the room, and they've had to literally sort of plaster around it because otherwise it just wouldn't have fitted in. So they had to make a little gap in the wall and slot the end in. But yeah, it looks great. It looks great. But that piece is in. So finally we have a piece of actual furniture that's in the room it's supposed to be in, not in the hall or on the landing or in the front room. So yay! I'm so craving poached eggs, and I know you can do poached eggs in the microwave, but I just want to have a poached egg from a pan on a bit of toast with maybe a bit of grilled cheese. That's the thing I'm looking forward to most. My husband's most looking forward to a Sunday roast, but poached egg on cheesy toast, that's sort of going to be the highlight once we get the cooker back in. I know it's a little thing. It is the little things. So yeah, that's sort of where I am in my world, really. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you're okay. I hope your projects are giving you some joy, as always. Please let me know what you're up to. What else to say? that's about it really. Hopefully in a couple of weeks I might have had my poached egg. I doubt it, but let's hope. Hopefully in a couple of weeks we will be off that sweater and onto a new one. But yes, I will catch up with you very, very soon. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. And yeah, keep well, keep safe. Diolch pawb, hwyl fawr.